last year when we did our spring discussions heading into spring, we both agreed that the tight end room was probably the least talented room on the team. And you got to talk to Keenan Bailey. I thought Keenan gave the absolute best 15 minutes of everybody. It was awesome. It was incredible. But we'll talk about the Max Clare thing. But one of the things he was talking about was that them being the least talented group on the team last year. He said he told them that, which was awesome. And that, got their identity. Like, we got to be the tough ones. We're not the talented guys here. And I thought I was very skeptical about him coming into that role for the last, it's been, a couple years now, but the first year was just basically Cade. But last year in particular, it was like, what's he going to do with these guys? They just got better and better and better. And it looked like, they came into like Bennett Christian and G were, leaders towards the end of the season. And it just looked like, man, this guy's doing a great job. And I started to see kind of what we've heard about him for so many years, how valuable he is to them inside the building and why everybody just loves him. And you got to talk to him, and he was talking about the situation with him being with Heartline and Day for 10 years now. And I was just thinking what I really hadn't thought of before, but you bring back Billy Fessler, you've got Heartline, you've got Keenan, and it's kind of like this is Day's coaching tree right here. And I think all these guys are going to go on to be very, very successful. And the way they talk about Day is almost with reverence when they talk about him and his football knowledge. I think it's really cool, something I hadn't picked up on before.
I've been here going on damn near a decade, and my two bosses have been Ryan Day and Brian Hartline for 10 years. So, like, we know each other every day for, 8 years. So that continuity, even you mentioned Billy Fessler, he was gone and came back. So, yeah, we're young, but we've been together. Show me another staff that's been together for 8 years, that knows each other that well, and that's, been this productive. I don't think there is one.
Yeah, without question. For one, with Keenan, I think it can't be overstated. The leadership that he had from his guys in the room last year played a big part in that room ultimately becoming what it was when we didn't think that was probably in the cards for that group. So I think you got to give a lot of credit. Obviously, Keenan's at the head of that, but I think you got to give a lot of credit to G and Bennett and even Will for that leadership in that room as well, and the accountability that they had to get better. So there's a big part of that as well, but I'm not surprised by that in terms of Keenan, just because of, again, as you said, everything we've heard about him, and even just talking to him, he's a very well-spoken, articulate guy, he can be very direct in the way he says things, but says it in a way that's, it doesn't come off as, harsh. It's just, those are hard truths. And so I can only imagine what those meeting rooms, that meeting room is like, and the meetings that they have with them as well. So, but what you were saying about the coaching tree, it's crazy. Time flies by the fact that we're sitting here talking about a Ryan Day coaching tree. But the people that are in that, and, you hope that, Brian Hartline being a perfect example of that, getting this role as an offense coordinator, you hope that these guys are here for a while now, but you're not looking too far down the road of some of these guys, branching out. And I know Billy Fessler is going to be a head coach someday. He will be. That guy seems like he's a superstar. I don't say a superstar, but he's going to be a hot commodity soon enough. And it's going to start really quickly too. If, Julian's saying, and I know they're married together, having talent, actually realizing itself on the field. There's a big coaching element as well. But if you get Julian saying, assuming he wins the job and he plays well out there, Billy Fessler is going to be a hot commodity really quickly. It's just so weird to think we're talking about a Ryan Day coaching tree, because it seems like, in my mind, it was just 3 years ago that it was my first season on the beat and it was his first season in the program. And now we're talking about a Ryan Day coaching tree. But that coaching tree is going to start branching pretty quickly, for sure, with some of these names on there.
Yeah, we can include James in there too, So
yeah,
it's
very true.
It's pretty cool. I think the most interesting thing of the day was Keenan Bailey walking us through the situation with Max Clare, which, Max Clare is a bona fide superstar in the making. He is the number one receiving tight end in the country. And the guy is just awesome. And now we found out that he's not only awesome on the field, like he sounds pretty awesome off the field. Yep. Keenan talks about, number one, he's not going to waste a single minute recruiting a guy or recruiting a guy on the portal. Said, I'm not even going to work you out. But if you want to come meet, it's going to be after hours. And they came and met for 2.5 hours. And based off of that, that's how they move forward with that, which says to me, Max Clare really wanted to be at Ohio State, which is pretty cool. Love to hear that, obviously, from a kid out of St. Xavier. I thought the most interesting thing was him talking about going to Kaz and Bennett and saying, I asked their permission to go talk to him. And
the conversation, I went to Will and I went to Bennett, and I said, listen, I have not talked to him yet. With your permission, I will. And if he's a culture fit, that was my only promise. If he doesn't fit you guys, I'm not going to bring him in.
And we talk about the transfer portal all the time. Often we forget the thing that they got to deal with day to day, which is how does that guy coming in affect their guys in their room, which can be incredibly detrimental. You could lose a guy, and it's not just about losing that guy. It's about all his buddies that are left behind, and their buddy just walked out. There's a real balancing act, and it seems like he handled it pretty damn smooth here.
Yeah, without question. Look, there's a fine line. As you kind of just said, there's a fine line between just saying we're going to go out and get the best guy that we can get for our, for our room, whatever room that may be, and that's just life at Ohio State. And also, as you said, kind of spoiling the culture inside a room. And so, going back to the Max Clare thing, how jarring that probably was to Max, for all the teams that were reaching out to him, programs reaching out to him, about his services and as good as he was, and knowing he was going to go somewhere and be a star somewhere, or expected, how jarring that probably was for Keenan Bailey to be like, yeah, if you want to come, but like, I'm not recruiting you. So if you show up to Woody, I'll talk to you for sure, and we'll have a good conversation about how you might fit in this program and what we might be able to do with you. But that's on you, and just kind of putting the ball in his court. We'll have a good conversation about how you might fit in this program and what we might be able to do with you. But that's on you, and just kind of putting the ball in his court. Like
I told him, I said, listen, I'm not going to sacrifice for 1 second any of my energy on you or a recruit or anybody. We're trying to go win the national championship. So even like that was the conversation. It was all about timing. And being a fit. Like I told him, I said, I'm not going to bring you here for a practice, because I didn't think that was appropriate for me to be recruiting this kid in the portal while I'm coaching up these guys. So I didn't even bring him in for a practice. I said, if you want to come talk to me about this opportunity, it's got to be on an off day or an evening. And that's exactly what happened.
That just doesn't happen in today's world of recruiting, whether it's high school recruits or portal recruits. So that was probably pretty jarring to him to be like, I would imagine even off-putting to be like, I can't figure out, does this guy want me to come show up or and have a conversation or not? And like you said, that obviously meant Max Clare was very, very interested in being a Buckeye for all the reasons. I mean, all those reasons are obvious. I imagine that was probably pretty jarring, but
the part of me, Dylan, is like, was he playing him? Was this all part of his recruiting strategy? Because how could you possibly not want this guy? He's fantastic. And even the asking permission to Kaz and Bennett, like I'm not convinced he doesn't he knows what the answer is going to be before he asks. He already knows they're going to say yes. I wonder if he doesn't know the answer, if he really asked that, because when I think about it, it's like, all right, yeah, obviously Day went to Travion before Quinshawn came in, and he talked to him about that. But Bennett Christian and Will Kazmarek are not on the same level as Max Clare. A little bit of a different scenario here. You got an opportunity to upgrade that kind of talent in your room. It's a real interesting situation. I mean, obviously he played it out perfectly, however it worked out, but it is interesting as hell.
I think like the approach that he took with that wasn't so much that he was trying to play a game with them, or like he was just, mildly interested in Max Clare coming to Ohio State, but it was kind of just a product of the unique situation he was in, where like Keenan Bailey quite literally couldn't spend time going to try to recruit Max Clare because they were trying to go win a national title. And you know, the utmost respect to Keenan Bailey for saying, like, you know, there's one thing that matters to me right now, and the only thing in order to get all my attention, and that's trying to win a national championship for Ohio State. So I think it was kind of a product of that. Well, Keenan Bailey's just like, I can't recruit you right now. I'm not going to, because I just have it wouldn't be fair to the guys I have in my room and what we're trying to accomplish. So I get all that. But I think there's an element, and again, this is just my opinion. If Keenan Bailey had a Tyler Warren type of player in his room already, and I guess it begs the question, why would they even be going after? They probably wouldn't go after a Max Clare. But let's just say there's a player like that, an established talent like that, a future high round draft pick like that. I don't know that, you know, I'm sure Keenan Bailey, I understand if you go to that guy and say, hey, you know, we're interested in adding another tight end, and he's really good, and he's going to play, he's going to see the field. We're going to find ways to get him in here. You know, how do you feel about that? Then I would understand that. But I felt like that was probably just a courtesy to go to Bennett Christian and Will and say, hey, you know, I'd like to bring this guy in, but what do you think? Every part of me believes if either one of them was like, I'll be honest with you, coach, if you do that, I'm not going to be too happy about it. I don't love the idea. You know, we put a lot of time, effort. You know, we're looking forward to an increased opportunity. I don't think Keenan Bailey is going to say, well, all right, sorry, Max Clare, you know, we're going to have to pass on you. We're not going to add you to our room. Keenan even made the comment that, you know, I asked him, were you looking to add a tight end in general, or were you looking to add Max Clare because that guy's available? And he said, he's always looking to add to his room. If they can make that room better, then they're going to add to it. So that philosophy there doesn't mesh with the idea that Bennett Christian could have steered you away from Max Clare. So I believe every part of Keenan Bailey was going to go get Max Clare if he could get him, regardless of what they said. But hey, you extend the courtesy, and you hope that, like you said, it goes well, and they say, yeah, we're fine with that. And, you know, that's the culture that we've bred in this program, and certainly in this room, that, you know, competition is going to make everybody better. But I firmly believe he was going to go after Max Clare no matter what Bennett Christian or Will Kacmarek said. So.
Yeah. And you know, the kicker is if he doesn't come to Ohio State, he probably ends up at Oregon. So now you're playing against him.